I was at my great-granddaughter's birthday party last month. She just turned 7. Beautiful child with her grandmother's eyes. My daughter's eyes. We were sitting at the kitchen table, just the two of us, while the other kids were playing. Outside, she was eating a piece of cake and I was drinking my tea with a bit of honey, the way I've done for 60 years now. She looked at me with those innocent eyes and said, "Great-grandpa, why do your hands have so many spots? And why are they so shaky when you try to hold your cup?" Then she touched my hand and added, "Will my hands look like this when I'm old?" I smiled at her. Children. They don't know how to soften their words yet, but it's that honesty that brings clarity sometimes. I look down at my hands, hands that have delivered over 8,000 babies, hands that have performed countless surgeries, hands that have held the hands of dying patients when their time came, and I wondered, what do you see? When you look at your hands, do you see the marks of time that make you feel like your body is betraying you? Do you feel like maybe you didn't take good enough care of yourself? Like maybe you should have done something differently? Music fades slightly. I'm Dr. Harold Weinstein. I'm 91 years old, and I've been practicing medicine for almost 70 years now. That's right, I still see patients 3 days a week at the clinic I founded back in 1962. I graduated from medical school when antibiotics were still considered revolutionary. I've witnessed the medical field transform completely, not once, but many times over. But more importantly, I've aged alongside my patients. I've watched thousands of people grow older, some gracefully, others struggling with every new year. And I've experienced aging myself, every ache, every new spot, every moment of forgetfulness. I'm not just a doctor speaking from textbooks. I'm living this journey right alongside you, and that's why I need to tell you something important today. Something I've learned not just from decades of medical practice, but from my own life. Music builds slightly. Last year, one of my patients, let's call her Margaret, came to see me. She's 83, lost her husband about 5 years ago. She sat in my office and broke down crying. Her daughter had taken her shopping, and afterward they stopped to have lunch with her granddaughter. At some point, Margaret overheard her granddaughter whisper to her mother, "How long do we have to stay? Grandma smells funny, and it's embarrassing." Margaret told me she went home and ordered over $400 worth of supplements that day. Calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, fish oil, special anti-aging blends, all because a salesperson had convinced her that these pills would restore her vitality, her energy, her very essence. Or Thomas, another patient of mine, 79 years old, former construction worker, strong as an ox in his day, came to me because he couldn't pick up his grandson anymore. His daughter suggested that maybe he wasn't trying hard enough to stay active. Thomas was taking 8 different supplements every morning. 8. Spending nearly $300 a month on pills that promised to rebuild his muscle mass. And then there's Eleanor, 75 years old, widowed, lives alone. She saw one of those 3 a.m. infomercials about a special supplement blend that would reverse memory decline. She ordered a 6-month supply because she was terrified of forgetting her late husband's face. When she came to see me, she was taking these unregulated pills and experiencing concerning side effects, but was too afraid to stop because the commercial had warned that interrupting the protocol would reverse all benefits. Music becomes more poignant. Does any of this sound familiar to you? The fear that your body is failing you. The embarrassment when you notice family members reacting to your aging. The desperate hope that somewhere in some bottle there's a solution that will bring back what time has taken. I understand. I truly do. Because I've felt it too. But here's what they're not telling you. What most doctors won't tell you because, frankly, there's no profit in it. There's a profound misunderstanding about how our bodies age and what they truly need as we get older. The supplement industry has turned our natural aging process into a disease that needs to be cured with expensive pills. They've convinced us that the normal changes in our bodies are somehow our fault, a result of not taking the right vitamins or minerals. The truth is much simpler, and I'm going to explain it in a way no one else has. Music shifts to a more hopeful tone. Your body isn't failing you. It's changing, yes, but those changes are part of a natural process, one that can be supported, nurtured, and even optimized. but not with handfuls of expensive pills. As we age, our digestive system changes. It produces fewer enzymes, making it harder to break down certain foods and absorb nutrients. Our gut microbiome, the trillions of beneficial bacteria that help us digest food and maintain our immune system, becomes less diverse. House cells become less efficient at removing waste products, leading to more inflammation. This is why so many supplements don't work for us. They're not addressing these fundamental changes. Many of them pass right through our systems without being properly absorbed. Others contain doses appropriate for younger adults, but not necessarily for our changing bodies. But there is something that works better. Something that's been right in front of us this whole time. Something that nature has perfected over thousands of years to nourish human bodies, even aging ones. Music builds with anticipation. Over my nearly 7 decades of practicing medicine and through my own aging journey, I've discovered that there are 5 specific foods that outperform supplements in every way when it comes to longevity and quality of life. Foods that work with our aging bodies, not against them. Foods that nourish us at a cellular level, reduce inflammation, support our changing microbiome, and give us sustainable energy. These aren't exotic superfoods that cost a fortune. They're not complicated to prepare. They're accessible, affordable, and most importantly, they work. I've seen them transform the lives of my patients. I've experienced their benefits myself. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share my complete protocol with you. I'll explain exactly what these 5 foods are, why they work so well for aging bodies, and precisely how to incorporate them into your daily routine for maximum benefit. This approach has helped hundreds of my elderly patients reduce their reliance on medications, regain energy they thought was lost forever, and reconnect with family members who noticed the difference, often within just 1 week of making these changes. And the best part? This entire protocol costs less than a single bottle of those premium supplements. You can implement it entirely in your own kitchen with no special equipment needed. Music reaches a gentle crescendo, then softens. Now let me walk you through each of these 5 powerful foods and exactly how to use them for the greatest benefit. The first longevity food that outperforms supplements is fermented dairy, specifically plain yogurt with live cultures or kefir. Now, I don't mean those sweetened yogurts with fruit on the bottom. I'm talking about simple plain yogurt or kefir that contains live bacterial cultures. Why does this work so well for aging bodies? As we age, our gut microbiome becomes less diverse, which affects everything from our immune system to our mood to our ability to absorb nutrients. Fermented dairy introduces beneficial bacteria directly into our digestive system, essentially reseeding our gut garden. The bacterial strains in fermented dairy, like Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium, do something remarkable that no probiotic supplement can match. They arrive with their own food supply, the dairy itself, which helps them survive the journey through our stomach acid and establish themselves in our intestines. Here's exactly how to use fermented dairy for longevity. Start with just 2 tablespoons of plain yogurt or kefir each morning, ideally before breakfast. If you have trouble swallowing or don't enjoy the taste, you can mix it with a teaspoon of honey or a few berries. The key is to consume it on an empty stomach, which allows those beneficial bacteria to reach your intestines with minimal interference. 4. Those who are truly lactose intolerant, there's a wonderful alternative, coconut kefir. It provides many of the same benefits without the dairy. You can find it in health food stores, or if that's difficult, I'll show you an easy way to make it at home with just coconut water and a starter culture. A simple elderly hack that works wonders. Take your fermented dairy at room temperature, not cold from the refrigerator. Cold foods can shock your digestive system, especially first thing in the morning. Take the yogurt or kefir out about 20 minutes before you plan to eat it. The second food that outperforms supplements is dark leafy greens, but prepared in a specific way that most people don't realize is crucial for absorption. As we age, our stomach produces less acid, making it harder to break down the cell walls of plants and extract their nutrients. This is why many elderly people take expensive green supplements, but those supplements are often poorly absorbed. For the same reason, the solution is so simple: lightly steamed dark leafy greens with a small amount of healthy fat. Here's the protocol. Choose greens like spinach, kale, collards, or mustard greens. Steam them just until they turn bright green and begin to soften, about 2 to 3 minutes. This breaks down the cell walls, releasing the nutrients. Then, drizzle them with a teaspoon of olive oil, or add a quarter of an avocado. The fat helps your body absorb the fat-soluble vitamins A, E, and K that are abundant in greens. For those with dentures or difficulty chewing, here's a wonderful elderly hack. After steaming, put your greens in a blender with a little broth to create a simple, nutrient-dense soup. Add a teaspoon of olive oil before serving. This makes the nutrients even more accessible while being easy to consume. Aim for half a cup of prepared greens daily. That's it, just half a cup. Consistency is more important than quantity. The third longevity food is one that surprised even me when I first discovered the research: sardines. Now, before you tell me you don't like fish, hear me out. Sardines are not just any fish. They're one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, particularly for aging bodies. They contain high-quality protein that's easily digestible, crucial as our digestive capacity diminishes. They're rich in omega-3 fatty acids that fight inflammation in our joints, heart, and brain. They provide vitamin D, which becomes harder for our skin to synthesize as we age. And because they're small fish low on the food chain, they contain minimal mercury and other contaminants. But what makes sardines truly superior to fish oil supplements is that they contain the whole complex of nutrients, not just the isolated omega-3s. They provide calcium from the soft, edible bones, more absorbable than calcium supplements, selenium, and a unique combination of proteins and fats that work synergistically. Here's how to incorporate sardines, even if you've never enjoyed them before. Start with just one sardine twice a week. Choose ones packed in olive oil rather than water or tomato sauce. The olive oil further enhances absorption of fat-soluble nutrients. If the flavor is too strong, mix the sardine with a tablespoon of plain yogurt and a squeeze of lemon. Then, spread it on a whole grain cracker or piece of toast. The yogurt and lemon neutralize the fishy taste while preserving the nutrients. An elderly hack that's helped many of my patients. If you have arthritis in your hands and struggle with opening cans, ask the store clerk to open it for you before you leave the store, or keep a good quality electric can opener at home. Alternatively, some brands now come in easy open containers specifically designed for those with limited hand strength. The fourth food that outperforms supplements is one you might not expect: properly prepared beans or lentils. As we age, our protein needs actually increase, while our ability to digest protein can decrease. Many seniors turn to protein supplements or powders, which are expensive and often contain additives that can cause digestive distress. Beans and lentils, when prepared correctly, provide a perfect solution. They offer a gentle, steady source of protein that's easier on aging kidneys than animal protein. They're rich in soluble fiber, which helps regulate blood sugar and cholesterol. And most importantly for longevity, they're one of the best sources of resistant starch, a special type of carbohydrate that feeds the beneficial bacteria in your colon. The key is proper preparation. Here's the protocol. Soak dried beans or lentils for at least 8 hours or overnight. This reduces compounds called phytates that can interfere with nutrient absorption. After soaking, drain and rinse them thoroughly, then cook them with a strip of kombu seaweed, available in the international section of most grocers, or a bay leaf and a piece of carrot. These additions help further break down compounds that can cause gas or bloating. Once cooked, consume a quarter cup serving of beans or lentils at least 3 times a week, preferably with a meal that contains some acidic element like lemon juice, vinegar, or tomatoes. The acid helps enhance mineral absorption from the beans, an elderly hack that has helped many of my patients. Cook a batch once a week, then freeze in individual portions in ice cube trays. Pop out a few cubes and warm gently for an easy, digestible protein source anytime. For those with dentures or swallowing difficulties, puree the beans with a little broth or olive oil for a smooth, nutrient-dense spread that can be added to soups or enjoyed on soft whole grain bread. The fifth and final longevity food that outperforms supplements is one that might surprise you. Mushrooms, specifically, common button mushrooms that have been exposed to sunlight or UV light. Here's something remarkable that most people don't know. Mushrooms, when exposed to sunlight or UV light for as little as 15 minutes, produce significant amounts of vitamin D, the exact same process that happens in our skin. As we age, our skin becomes less efficient at producing vitamin D when exposed to sunlight, leading many elderly people to take vitamin D supplements. But mushrooms exposed to light can provide vitamin D2 in a form that our bodies can readily use. What's more, they contain unique compounds called beta-glucans that support immune function, especially important for aging immune systems. Here's the protocol. Purchase ordinary button mushrooms. Before cooking them, place them gill side up in direct sunlight for 15-30 minutes. Just that brief exposure can increase their vitamin D content dramatically. Then incorporate just 3 of these mushrooms into your meals 3 times a week. An elderly hack that works wonderfully. If getting out to shop frequently is difficult, mushrooms can be dried after sun exposure and stored in an airtight container. They'll retain their vitamin D content and can be rehydrated in warm water or added directly to soups and stews. This extends their usefulness and means fewer trips to the store. For those who don't enjoy the texture of mushrooms, they can be finely chopped and added to soups, omelets, or pasta sauces, where they'll virtually disappear while still providing their benefits. Music shifts to a more emotional tone. Let me tell you about Irene. She's 87 years old and came to me about a year ago. She was taking 11 different supplements every day: calcium, vitamin D, B complex, fish oil, you name it. She spent nearly $300 a month on these pills. But what really brought her to my office weren't physical complaints. It was heartbreak. Her granddaughter had gotten married, and at the reception the photographer was arranging the family for pictures. As they were setting up the generational photo, grandmother, mother, bride, Irene overheard the photographer whisper to his assistant, "Let's do this one quickly. The old lady looks like she's fading." Irene told me she went to the bathroom and cried. She had been taking all these supplements faithfully for years, and yet she still looked like she was fading. I gently put her on the protocol I've just shared with you. No more handful of supplements, just these 5 specific foods prepared the way I've described. 6 weeks later, she came back to my office. The change was remarkable. There was color in her cheeks. Her eyes were clear and bright. She told me her persistent indigestion had disappeared. She was sleeping better. But what moved me most was when she said, "Dr. Weinstein, my great-granddaughter climbed into my lap yesterday and said I smelled like cookies." She laid her head on my shoulder and fell asleep there. That hasn't happened in years. Then there's Richard. He's 92, a World War II veteran. When he first came to see me, he was taking so many supplements that he needed one of those weekly pill organizers, the kind with 4 compartments for each day. He told me he had to set an alarm on his phone to remember all the different times to take these pills. Richard's main concern was his balance. He was terrified of falling. His son had suggested he move to an assisted living facility because he didn't seem steady anymore. I started Richard on our 5-food protocol with special attention to the fermented dairy and mushrooms. 3 months later, he came to his appointment without his cane. His balance test showed significant improvement, but the real victory, his son had withdrawn the suggestion about assisted living. Instead, they were planning a fishing trip together, something they hadn't done in a decade. Finally, there's Martha, who's 81. Martha came to me after her Medicare Part D prescription coverage had changed, and suddenly her supplements weren't covered anymore. She was beside herself because she couldn't afford the $200 a month they would cost out of pocket. She truly believed that without those supplements, her health would rapidly decline. I introduced Martha to our 5-food protocol, making sure to address her fixed income. We calculated that the entire protocol would cost her about $30 a week, less than half what she was paying for supplements. Within a month, Martha reported that her chronic constipation had resolved, something her fiber supplements had never fully addressed. Within 2 months, the persistent dry skin she'd battled for years had improved dramatically. And after 3 months, something unexpected happened. Her mild depression lifted. She started calling her friends again, something she'd stopped doing over the past year. Music becomes warm and encouraging. I've seen these simple foods change hundreds of lives. I've experienced their benefits myself. At 91, I still work 3 days a week, tend my garden, and play chess with my great-grandchildren. I'm not saying these foods are magic. Aging is still aging. I move slower than I did at 70. My hands still have spots. But I have energy, clarity, and a zest for life that many of my contemporaries have lost. It's never too late to make this change. Never too late to reclaim some of what time has taken. Your body wants to be well. It wants to heal itself. It just needs the right tools, not synthetic isolates in pills, but real food that contains the complex matrix of nutrients we evolved to recognize and use. Try this protocol for just 7 days. That's all I ask. 7 days of incorporating these 5 simple foods prepared the way I've described. You'll begin to feel a difference, not in an artificial, stimulated way that supplements sometimes produce, but in a deep, cellular way. You'll notice your digestion improving first, then your sleep, then often your mood and energy. Your family will notice too, not because you'll look 20 years younger overnight, but because you'll have more presence, more vitality. You'll feel more like yourself again. And that's what this is really about, isn't it? Not about defying aging or chasing some impossible ideal of eternal youth. It's about feeling at home in your body again, about having the energy to engage with the life you've built and the people you love. You've earned this wisdom. You've earned the right to these good years, and you deserve to know the truth about what your body really needs. If you found value in what I've shared today, please consider sharing this video with someone else who might benefit. Another elder who might be struggling, or perhaps an adult child who's trying to support an aging parent. Knowledge is meant to be passed on. That's how wisdom grows. Thank you for your time today. This is Dr. Harold Weinstein, wishing you health, peace, and the simple joy of feeling well in your own skin.